Thanks, Sue. Well, what I'm going to be talking about is kind of almost a build on Adele's points of earlier in terms of actually looking at the application of shopper marketing. So in the world of shopper marketing, there's a lot of new tech that's making its way into the retail space. When once upon a time, if you think about it, people scoffed at the premise of kind of having a personal computer in your pocket, but smartphones are now prevalent, and omni-channel marketing is now sort of the new buzzword. But that comes with a bit of a trap in the sense that brands face the possible dangers of adopting shiny new toys and appearing gimmicky. So I wanted to share some examples of where tech applications are being most useful and engaging way for shoppers. We're now living, as I'm sure you feel, with an always-on culture, this explosion of mobile phones, particularly smartphones. I mean, in the UK, there's now 76% of us have them. It's very much kind of this get up first thing in the morning. So a sort of scary statistic is that 55% of us in the UK now actually look at their phone within 15 minutes of stirring in the mornings. We know that obviously millennials are obviously a quarter of the population as well now, and they're very much these early adopters of tech and open to exchanging of information. So no surprising that the retail scene is changing. UK e-commerce retail is expected to hit the 60 billion mark this year, and a third of that is related to mobiles and tablets, with mobiles actually growing by over 37.5%. In fact, we've actually got 73% of UK shoppers are now predicting they'll spend more on their mobiles this year, and 15% now use their mobiles as their main shopping device. So again, retailers obviously having to step up to the mark here. And I pulled out John Lewis. It's often mentioned as one of the kind of the leading stars in this, and it was one of the first to adopt that strapline, omni-channel overtly of in-store, online and mobile. And now a third of their sales are actually from online, which are up 17.1% this year, where actually their stores sales are declining by 1.8%. And for them, it's not whether it's a customer shops online or within a shop, but if they shop at John Lewis. So with that, how do we keep those happy shoppers? Well, the challenge is as well that 89% of people in the UK are concerned about privacy online. Some of the studies where Facebook had carried out psychological tests last year, or whether the Ashley Madison recent sort of hacks into the consumer data have caused people to be quite concerned about the data that they are changing and exchanging, and it needs to be treated with sort of delicacy and caution. That said, with the flip side of it slightly is that millennials are obviously much more open to sharing and smart ways of sharing their information. So over 56% said they would be happy to let retailers know their location in order to receive coupons. So it's very much for them about understanding and engaging what the benefit is of sharing that information, so that outweighs the diminished privacy that they may be having. So how's that coming to life actually in some of the stores? Well, on the left-hand side, Coke, obviously no surprises there. They've been phenomenally successful with their Share a Coke campaign. 32 countries, I think, at 800 million name bottles by 2013, and still going strong in various iterations. And here this was in Israel, where they brought tech into the picture. They actually used geo-fence location technology and brought up that people could sign up to the app and then get their name up in lights when they approached the various billboards around Israel. This was downloaded 100,000 times and was the #1 app in Israel at the time. Burberry have also been looking at kind of removing the stuffiness, I suppose, of a high-end luxury shop. So they created this amazing flagship store in London, where the products weren't behind the glass anymore. You could get out, see all the products, you could find out information, you could see catwalks happening, all very engaging experience for customers that were going in there. It was also about trading sort of the privacy for relevancy. So they've been implementing a database system, I suppose, big data, called Customer 360, which is very much about taking people's purchase history, social media trends, to be able to give people a personalised greeting when they came in, to give suggestions for enhanced products or different accessories, to make that experience much more personal and relevant to the shoppers that were coming in their store. Heston Blumenthal on the right, who's obviously quite a quirky chef, he's actually getting into a sort of big data in his own way as well, and creating a nostalgic database. So I thought it was quite interesting in the sense of he obviously had experiences himself growing up and cooking, and he wants to understand and do some sort of profiling on people so that he can surprise and delight them when they dine in his restaurants going forwards. Surprising and delighting is certainly the area that comes up kind of quite nicely with augmented reality. So on the left, this was Pepsi. Pepsi had been working, guess, on the insight that it's very boring standing at bus stops, not very exciting, and how could they actually bring that brand promise of unbelievable and living for now to life? So what they were doing was using augmented reality. They had flying saucers and tigers, all sorts of things that could engage and shock and get people talking. In fact, the video of people's reaction to said bus stops already hit 3 million hits on YouTube. Vespa taking a slightly different approach, more of information style. So they use magazines, and using augmented reality actually enable people to create their perfect Vespa, customize it, even take it for a little test drive, and the GPS then directed you to the nearest showroom. L'Oreal also have been working to take away the hassle of makeup shopping. So going in store, trying all sorts of pieces on your hands and all sorts of quite unhygienic and not very pleasant experience. So their Makeup Genius app actually allows you to trial and buy over 4,500 products, which is quite phenomenal. And rather than being static, it's now taking it to the next level of that you can actually move around, and it still actually keeps the facial expressions, and the makeup looks very realistic. So it allows you to actually try those products and buy the ones that are most relevant to you. They're expecting it, just launched in Australia, and they're expecting 500,000 downloads already this year, and there's been 10 million so far in US, France and China in the last year. In terms of mobile coupons and beacon technology, this has been starting to come into the fore a lot more at the moment. Tesco's have been doing quite a lot of different trials. This one was for their Villiers store, which was a new concept store around food to go. So they used the geofence location technology again to identify 40,000 shoppers who had either been past the store 6 times or to a nearby tube station, to send out a coupon to them so they could have a food to go shop. They've also been working on beacon technology in their one-stops as well with IPC magazines, which created a 15% engagement level increase. McDonald's in Turkey have been using the beacons to identify customers and change behaviour when they're actually in the trial cafes. So they had a new product range of coffees that they were trialling and wanted to switch people to, and they managed to get a 20% conversion rate. Indeed, some people actually came back and used it more than once, 30%. In Canada, they've taken a slightly different approach to using the beacon technology. So they were conscious that people were finding it hard to park and quite concerned about getting back to their cars and worrying about this aspect. So what they did was work on a parking app, also combined with in-store promotions, and they found that people then stayed 13% longer at the mall and were 85% more likely to shop where the exclusive promotions had been sent to them. In terms of smart outdoors, no longer having to be grabbed by chuggers, cancer research have been trialling some great stuff in terms of being able to use contactless technology that's obviously been coming to the fore again in the last year or so, to enable people to literally swipe their card and give donations rather, actually just passing the store, which is a great new step forwards. Diageo have also been working with temperature. So they've been looking and working in the summer with 12 premium screens across London and Birmingham over a 10-day period, where once the temperature reached 21 degrees, which I think it actually did for a few days in the UK, they actually changed and the PIMS came up there, so you had your messaging to give your refreshing PIMS o'clock. Interestingly as well, they also worked with digital posters on the streets in London around Clapham and Victoria. So this enabled people to be actually able to go and find the nearest place where the pub where it had spaces free. So you could actually find somewhere lovely to go and get that refreshing drink. Drones have been talked about a little bit, and these haven't been so successful. So Crocs tried it in Japan, in store, but unfortunately they kept crashing and it wasn't the best idea, and it wasn't working as well. And TGI Fridays also used them for mistletoe. Unfortunately, there were a couple of incidents, but I think the best application of that is clearly going to be actually with the drones in Amazon Prime Air, where they're looking at, having looked at their data, they found out that 86% of deliveries are under the £5 pound mark, and will be able to therefore be shipped across. And they're trialling that in Canada at the moment. In terms of VR, building on the points that were made earlier, it's very much about actually immersing everybody in the brand and making that emotional connection that Adele talked about earlier. So the examples here were about North Face, which was it trying to put people in store in the flagship stores into the inspiring them with the explanation of life and the Yosemite National Park. Topshop in the middle had also been using them to give people a virtual front row ticket, very much about kind of enticing and exciting these digitally savvy customers. And Thomas Cook have been doing a try before you buy, where you can actually go and try some of the amazing adventures or go to some of the resorts without, as Adele said, actually having to go across to those places. And last but not least, the more cutting edge that's coming through now is robots. So I've again picked out a few examples, but on the left-hand side, this is in a Tokyo department store where the lady greets you. Again, it's much more part of surprise and delight at the moment, but there is hope that that will move forwards over time as AI develops. The middle one is Hointers, who in the US who wanted to create the perfect jean store. So they realised that men weren't liking sorting for size, they didn't want help in the dressing room, and they didn't want to queue to pay. So they've been using QR codes so you could scan around, walk around very quickly, select them, the robot would deliver you to your place or your dressing room where it would tell you where it was, and then you could quite quickly pay. If you didn't like the products, you could also swap them and the robot will go and get those for you. So very much about ease of delivery. And the final one was about Oshbots in California. So that was very much in terms of actually making trips where to DIY stores was actually less scary. So here you can come in, be greeted by the robot, and you can scan the part, which would actually be the recognised parts, and then be able to find those, so because it's already got the real-time location and the stock codes. So in summary, I think the winning tech formula for using some of these technologies is obviously about being relevant and useful. That can come in different ways. So on a base level, it could be about surprising and delighting. So whether that's the AR, for example, with Pepsi, it could be about the information side of it. So more Vespa trying to give that extra level of information that you haven't got currently, or Thomas Cook as going actually to the resort without actually having to go there yourself previously or look for recommendations. Saving time, such as the Lowe's robot, which very much about making quicker decisions. Convenience, Pointer, being able to do that. And whether it's a solution or product, in terms of L'Oreal, making up some of those. Makeup Genius, so that you can actually buy the products, purchase it very quickly and easily. And finally, the personalised, in terms of the beacons or the coupons, or Burberry 360, where you're getting much more deeper experience that suits you and your needs to make you a happy shopper. Overall, making sure that you minimise any concerns about the privacy and security.